Last time we talked, I gave you not an exhaustive list, but a decent list on why an unfaithful spouse would refuse to get help. Now, it wasn't exhaustive because I don't want to feed you a 30-minute video blog that you would get really bored in, but those were a lot of the main reasons. Today I want to talk about, well, what do you do if your unfaithful spouse refuses to get help? I talk to betrayed spouses all the time who, believe it or not, their unfaithful spouse refuses to get help and they really feel powerless and they feel stuck. And it's gut-wrenching for the betrayed spouse who's been violated, the true big victim in all of this, to be willing to get help, but yet the unfaithful spouse refuses to. And so what do you do if you're a betrayed spouse? And today that's what I want to address. I think one of the biggest mistakes that betrayed spouses make when an unfaithful spouse refuses to get help is they chase them and they kind of, run after them, sometimes beg and plead and all these different things. And what that usually does is it actually chases the unfaithful away. It actually encourages them to pull back. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But I would tell you, first of all, stop chasing them, stop pursuing them. If you've asked them to get expert help in a safe environment, like affairrecovery.com and an EMS weekend or some of the courses there, things like that, if you've asked them to do that and they've refused, don't chase them. Because what you're doing is you are continuing the chase and you are, in many ways, weakening your position. What you're doing is you are disempowering yourself, and the last thing that you want to do is be this codependent, whatever they want to do is whatever they want to do, and that you're going to continue to harass them, even attack them, and torture them until they get help, because quite frankly, that just won't work, and it will actually maybe do more damage in the process. As a betrayed, you want to remain strong. You want to begin to communicate the message that says, you know what, I'm asking you to get help. You're refusing to get help. I can't live like this anymore, and I'm not going to live like this anymore. And you begin to flip the script. You begin to pursue your own recovery. You begin to communicate, you know what, I'm going to be okay without you. It's not what I want. It's not number one. It's not my biggest desire. But if you're going to refuse to get help, I'm going to then refuse to just kind of play house and just kind of live in limbo. I'm a human being with dignity and self-respect and self-love and value, and I'm not going to beg you to love me or beg you to get help or beg you to find clarity. I've asked you very graciously and very humbly and very passionately, but you've decided not to. So you know what? You have decided this course of action. Well, you need to understand what this means, and this means that I'm going to begin to pursue my own recovery and my own healing, and I'm going to be okay without you, and I don't actually need you to survive. You see, the unfaithful is a bit of a bloodhound. They can sniff and smell weakness, and when they know that you need them, they begin to kind of, unfortunately, sometimes play these little games where they know that you need them and want them, so they'll kind of draw near to you, and then they'll have these little affirming moments and this affection. Maybe you'll even be intimate, and then they'll immediately pull back, and then maybe they'll sometimes run to be with their affair partner. And so there's this disempowering to your position, and you don't want to do that. And I know some of you go, but then me not chasing them means they're going to run to be with their affair partner, and I'm sorry, they're already with their affair partner. That line of reasoning doesn't work. They're already with them, and if you have to chase them to be with you, you're going to have to chase them the rest of your marriage. That's going to be very painful for you, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage to yourself to try and get them back and woo them back. You'll be wooing them back the rest of your marriage. Another thing that you can do is begin to really enforce some boundaries or some consequences. When you say to them, well, look, you're not willing to get help, so because of that, I can't live like this anymore. And so I'm going to need you to sleep in the guest room, move out, go find an apartment, go live with your buddy. We'll have a structured separation depending upon your state. Maybe you file for divorce. Maybe you ask them to go spend some time away. I don't know. But you have to begin to think in terms of, well, look, I've not asked you to end the affair. I've not asked you to do anything other than get expert help to begin to formulate a decision on what we want to do eventually, and you're resistant to that, well, you know what? I now am going to ask you to do A, B, and C. Because if you are not willing to get help, then this is what life is going to be like, because I am refusing to live in limbo anymore. Ultimatums scare people, especially some betrayed spouses think, oh, I could never do that. I want to encourage you to rethink that position, because you're going to need to empower yourself, because he or she is not going to empower you. You're going to have to be willing to empower yourself, which says if you're not willing to do X, and X is just simply going to get help, or spending money, or making an investment, or making our marriage somewhat of a priority, then I need you to know that Y and Z are coming your way, because you have chosen to not get help. You never want to make a threat that you're not willing to follow through on, because it only weakens your position more, and it only communicates to the unfaithful spouse that you're really not going to stand your ground, and anytime they want to draw near to you and anytime they want to draw close to you, that you're going to be there for them, and that is dysfunction. Believe it or not, one of the most powerful things that you can do if your unfaithful spouse refuses to get help is to work on you, is to do recovery work for you. There's a number of books that you can read that are out there about infidelity. You can take the Harboring Hope course on affairrecovery.com. You can find a therapist that can help you with grieving. You can read about the 5 stages of grieving. You can begin to study grieving. You can begin to empower yourself by learning and growing and getting help for you. And I will tell you, when I saw Samantha begin to say, look, I don't know what I want to do. I'm not sure if I can forgive you and I can agree to spend the rest of my life with you after what you've done, but I'm not going to just sit back. I've got to get help. I may be on my own. I may have to go back out and get a job without you. And she was reading books, and she was meeting with Rick, and she was getting help for her. I mean, that was like, oh, whoa, huh, what? You mean you're not just laying at home waiting for me? You mean you're not just sitting back proud of me that I rose up and ended the affair and came home? You mean you're not sitting and worshiping me? Absolutely not. She was like, look, I've got to get help for me, and whether you're here or not, I've got a life to live. It was remarkable to see the courage that she had to get help, even in the face of uncertainty. Another thing that you must do is realize that it's not your fault that they won't get help. Now, I'm going to offer a real strong caveat. I do talk to lots of betrayed spouses who have this moment of clarity where they say, well, you know what, I was very harsh, or I did withhold sex, or I did some things that I know that were wrong. Now, those things were wrong. Does it justify them having an affair? Absolutely not. Does it provide clarity into the dysfunction of the marriage and the weaknesses of the marriage and the vulnerabilities? Absolutely. Does it mean that them having an affair to go get their needs met was okay? Absolutely not. However, you may need to own some things, and you may need to say, you know, I was the A, B, C, what have you, and I want to get help for me to understand why I did that. And I want to begin to get clarity to help myself heal. But remember, you may have wounded them, rejected them, done some things that were unfair. Samantha did that and she owned it, but that does not justify their stubbornness. It does not justify their unwillingness to get help. It is not your fault that they don't want to get help. Finally, and this can be looked upon as a weak position, but it's really not. You may need to really surrender to the fact that you're just not in control, and it's okay that you're not in control. And our natural reaction as human beings is to try and control it, and in the times that we're in with the self-help, take charge, take control, rise up, you just can't in situations like this. And it's actually okay. It's okay to not be in control. It's okay to realize, you know what? I can't make you want me. I can own what I need to own, and I can draw boundaries, and I can stand up for myself and love myself and maybe forgive myself, and I can even forgive you, the betrayer. But I'm not in control, and that's okay, because I'm going to be okay without you if you choose to not be with me. Because you are not an idol. You are not the totality of my life. Because if you are, then I'm going to sacrifice my own humility. I'm going to sacrifice my own dignity and self-respect, all in an effort to try and beg you to come home, and then I'm going to end up resenting myself for doing that. And so you know what? If you don't want to be with me, then that's okay. I will be strong, and I still have value, and I still will have a wonderful life without you.